Hi there. Welcome to the Bonzoleum drum tuning video. This is an overall general drum tuning video. In general. Okay, this is how I tune drums in general. For all purposes, I would say except for bottom. Bottom tuning's a little different, I'll do that. It's just everything generally is tuned a little higher and the heads aren't as thick. These are the drum heads that came on this brand new kit, which when you buy a brand new kit, or a lot of the heads that a lot of younger folks use today are heavier than what would have been on Bottom's kit. So this is the tuning. So what you're going to see, I'm going to start with the 12-inch tom, which is 6 lug. Okay, there's a different way to tune a 6 lug than an 8 lug than a 10. Okay, in a 6 lug, you have this going on, like 2 triangles. Okay, so that I'll explain that there. The 8 lug is like 2 squares. Okay, you have 8 divided by 2 is 4. So you do 4, and then the other 4, 6. Half of that's 3. You do 3, then the other 3, and then 10. You 5 and the other 5. And I'll explain that in the video coming up. Thanks for watching. I hope you get a lot out of this video. This is the last drum tuning video you'll ever need. For tom-toms and bass drums, that is. Snare's a separate story. All right, here it is. This is a 12-inch tom. Now we're going to use a 12-inch because this one here, typically they're 6 lug. Always, in fact. Unless from Bizarre Lubbock stuff from the 80s and other companies from the 80s. Or if it's a Gretsch sort of thing where there's 5. 12-inch, we have 6 eyelets, okay? This is loose, literally what you do. This is just a generic head that came with the brand new kit. You set it on. Heads these days, even with kits, are pretty good. It seats all around. It's round. You examine it literally to see. You can tell if the hoop is round, if the shell is round. It's simple, but here's the deal. So what you do is you set the hoop on, just like that. Sometimes what you want to do is, gosh damn it. Well, you can start with one of these rods, okay? So you stick it in. God, sticking the rod on the 12-inch. What the hell's going on? So that you're just literally going to screw one of these in. Pick one anywhere on the 6. Okay, now 6, think of a triangle, okay? Again, me and the triangles. 1, dun, 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 like the Star David, okay? So you'll skip one, put it over here. Pardon my shakes. I do have a familial tremor, which I'm sick and tired of having to deal with. Okay, so then, you know what's really neat now? And all the kits now, these washers come where they're threaded. The threading keeps them from falling off, which is terrific. So then to the other corner here, the third corner. Okay? So, we got that. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to kind of literally, when I say finger tighten, unless you're like a boxer, like Mr. Hand, do you know what I'm saying? Just finger tighten them. I mean, you don't have to totally crank them, but if you're kind of cranking them, that's okay. All right, so even now, so there they are, they're finger tight. So we're going to do the other 3 of the triangle. The reason why I did that now is you just want to make sure that the holes, if you do those 3, the holes will line up. Because sometimes what happens is you won't realize it, but sometimes when people tune the drums, the hoop is a little askew. You want to make sure that all the tension rods are point perfectly down, not that everyone's a little, here's an exaggeration, like this or like this, okay? So, okay, everything's straight, and the ones, of course, I did, because I checked it. And now on the other triangle, those are going straight down, there's no askewness. Okay, so now I'm just going to finger tighten these other guys now. Okay. Okay. So now there we are. Everything is finger tight. Okay? It is finger tight. Wow. Boy, all these words are. We have 12 inches. We had stick it in, rods. It's tight. Holy shit. All right, so what we want to do is check this out. I tried to get the light just so. Okay? This is what's crucially important in tuning. Again, for any tom-tom, or I mean any drum, snare, it's for putting the basic head on and getting the basic tuning, this is the way to go. But with toms and floor toms is what I'm saying, and the bass drum, this is the way to go on. The snare, you have to violate the rules a little sometimes, but that's not the purview of this video. So check this out. The middle of the head, you don't have to be, you know, like, oh my God, this is the middle. Oh wait, this is the middle. The middle of the head, you're just going to push down, okay? So see these wrinkles? you'll see there's wrinkles that point in like this, okay? And they're all because I finger tightened them. You know, on a good drum like this one, you'll see it almost looks like perfectly symmetrical. But even if it doesn't look that way, it won't always happen. It doesn't matter. So stick your finger in the middle, this grouping of flesh. So what I do is I'll pick one. It doesn't matter which one. Right now what I'll do is this is pointing north. Let's see if you can see that. Yeah, you can. So what I'm going to do is I'm literally, not quickly, I'm going to turn this to the right till it smooths out. Okay, I don't know if you can see that, but that's smooth there now. Just this little area, the smiley face area. Okay, since we're on a 12 and it's 6 lug, we're going to skip one, like we did when we inserted them. Now we're there. I'm going to press down. You can see the wrinkles, okay? I'm turning that till the wrinkles from my angle disappear, okay? So now you can see there's like a bigger smiley face area, sort of like a alluvial plain coming out of a river. Turn that like that for the last of the 3 of the triangle. Push it. Now see that, okay? I'm just pushing. Not incredibly hard, like, but pretty significantly, okay? That's something okay, so just watch. So do that, guy. Okay, and there we are. You don't want to over tighten on that. Like, you got to fight the urge that if you're turning that and it goes away, what most drummers do, what I do is, okay, just a little extra. Okay, now it's really there. Okay, now it's really there. You got to watch out for. So now we're going to do the other 3 of the triangle. Whoop, just like that. Press down. Now here's the thing. You can barely see any wrinkles there because 3 of these will hold it pretty good. Okay, you got to remember that. So right now I'm just turning the wrinkle. Just see that little turn, that little sort of from this position to here. That took care of it. So I'm going to turn it over here. God, look at my filthy fingertips. So and now I'm trying to look in the camera feed here. So we're just turning it. Push. Push. See any wrinkles? Okay. Now what you do, and every drummer does this, when you're done tuning, this is what you have to do. Press, make sure no wrinkles when I push down as hard as I was. Now what you do is you take the key. This is important. A lot of drummers freak out here. Set that on there. And just kind of, it's there. It's not, just see if it turns just a little bit, okay? Because you don't want one that's, what happens is these are pretty powerful, okay? Even on these are 2.3 gauge rims. So it can behave a little more like a die-cast rim than a 1.6 can, a thinner gauge. But you just want to make sure there might be a point where you tighten down on the triangle where it might have suddenly exceeded the strength of this hoop. It might have had the effect of loosening it there. Does that make any sense? So what you do, so just then turn it. You can get to this one might be a little. No, that one's good too. Remember what we're doing is we just don't want one of these to be, oh, see, that was just loose, okay? But the danger is here. You don't want to crank it. You got to get to where it just sort of stops, where you feel that tension, where it hits the tension that these have achieved. There it is. Whoop, just in case, get this guy who was. This one should be because it was holding, should be good because it was holding that. Now this one will probably be loose then too. A little. Yeah, just a little. So kind of just, again, it's not a lot. That's probably what I just did there, like a 1/6 of a turn, okay, in this point. Okay, this one. Okay. Now hang on a second here. Here's the deal. Now, hang on. I'm going to move this camera into the other room. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is just check. I'm going to double check the top because that wasn't part of this purview. Sometimes on these heads, the top heads that come, pretty much all heads, the bulk of newer heads for bass drums and a lot of toms are these almost pinstripey Ritchie rings that are around on the drum. The head's thicker, and then there's some sort of thing around the perimeter that at a uniform length from the edge provides more muffling. On these, you can actually have a teeny bit of bagging sometimes, okay? Just a little bit. You might have a couple wrinkles. Sometimes that happens. Whatever sounds good, if you're playing by yourself practicing, it sounds good to your ears, that's how you tune. If you're playing a gig, you go out where people are going to hear it, and that's how it sounds. Usually what you might have to do is at a live gig, and you're getting a real bing, bing, it means just tune that drum down a little. Just very simple. Don't try to get a tone that, you're trying to tune it. Like you might think there's just a little thing wrong with it in the tuning at the pitch you're at. Don't bother with that. Just tune the drum down a little bit, okay? It's all relative. All right, so here we go. So that's pretty much it. Pushing down on the, this one's pretty rigid. So I'm just making sure. All right, so remember, here's the problem. You always got to fight the urge to be like, all right, okay, this is good. This must be better. Or, all right, we'll keep it really secure. Just fight that little extra urge. Just a teeny bit there. So now what we're going to do, we're going to remove the drum. Whoop. Now we move on to an 8-lug drum. Oftentimes, any nowadays drum bigger than 14 inches in diameter going on up will have 8 lugs, okay? So what I'm going to do now is like I did before. Just with my fingers, just get this, go around and just get the screws. Just insert it and slightly turn, okay? Just so they're in there. That's what I'm doing. So they're slightly in there. This will take a minute, so I'll edit some of this out. So how are you? You ever smell mothballs? How'd you get your nose between those teeny little legs? Yeah. Courtesy of my cousin Jay. All right. So here we go. So with my fingers, so it's 8. Remember now we had on a 6 lug, we had the Star of David. We had an upside down triangle and a regular triangle. On 8, we have 2 squares. Think of 2 perfect squares that are kind of laying on top of each other like one at an angle. I mean, literally it is, it's like a 45 maybe? It's not it's, I guess it is. I guess, yeah, I don't know. Let's say you just turn the thing 90 degrees. But all right, so what it is, you have 8 lugs. So you have think of a square from here. When you skip the rods here, you get a square and then a square here, 2 squares. Okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to pick on one of the square. Well, tighten them all now. So what you're going to do is you're going to finger tighten them. Again, what I did before, you don't have to totally torque them on there, just as much as your fingers will kind of go like, you can give it a little bit of a finger, okay? Just a little. Okay? Hang on. All right. So we get the key. So here we go. Can you see? It's harder to see the wrinkles. See how you can kind of see them? You can see them in your vantage point going all the way around. You're going to have to take my word that they're here. Actually, let me double check. I can see. Oh, there's not a whole lot. You know what? My fingers sort of tighten this to pretty much the wrinkles are gone. Okay, so what you can do, especially on the bigger ones, you can do it on the 12s too, but sometimes you can give it a little bit of what they call seating. But really, when you're tuning and pushing there, that's kind of enough seating, in my opinion, you need, because sometimes you really can't stretch the head by pushing too hard. All right, so here we go. So we're going to pick, well, let's pick here so you can see it, okay? Here is the noon we're going to do, okay? See, just from me sort of seating it or pushing down hard, these, it loosened. The screws didn't loosen. The head gave, okay? So you got to really make sure so they're all evenly finger tight. Gotta get so excited about this stuff. Okay, press down. Remember, not super hard. So now there's not a whole hell of a lot of wrinkles. There's really none over here. But so what I'll do is I'll pick one. You can see that. Watch that wrinkle here disappear. Okay, see it's gone. Okay, now so you can see it here. So we're gonna go skip this guy. Go here, press wrinkles. Push it down. Now turning till just the wrinkles go away. They have to just go away. You can't keep cranking it. And then, of course, the last one, which is good. So double check the 4. This one, that one. They're good. They're good. So now I'm going to turn my attention to the square that was laying across. Now you'll see here, remember how, so these, again, these 2.3 hoops sometimes, they can behave like die cast. Like they're strong enough to pull down sort of evenly, I think, sometimes. So now the opposite square, you can finger tight these guys. This one was really more loose. So now what I'm going to do is start here. Now you can there's really no wrinkle there, but so what I'll do, I really don't see any wrinkles left since I finger typed the second grouping. But what I'll do is you can kind of see a couple here. And since this is one that was in this grouping, I'm going to tighten it a little so that wrinkle goes. Okay, the wrinkle's gone. If I push real hard, sometimes you see that wrinkle. Sometimes in the floor tom, if you push real hard, wrinkles aren't necessarily bad. Okay, if you see, floor tom, you're going to want to tune lower. Okay? But since this is a resonant head, you really don't want any wrinkles. If this was a batter, a few wrinkles would be okay. So here we go. Wrinkles are all gone. So what you do is just like on the 6 lug, you go around, you start, and you sort of just turn a little. Remember skipping. I'm doing the square here, not the triangle. Just to see if anything's loose. I mean, like literally kind of, if you were to grab it, you can use your fingers too. Like try to unscrew a little, and if it loosens real fast, you need to tighten it just a little more. Okay? So now what I'm going to do, now I'm going to get the opposite square. Remember these 4 now. Okay, these were the primaries I just remembered. So look at, oh, that one's a little loose. So just go, anything that just feels, honestly, just a little loose. Just turn it just a teeny bit. Okay? Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. So here we go. So now let's take it into the other room. Whoop! Here is a 10 lug drum. Okay, now I've made a bass drum video like this before. 10 lug. But in this case, we're just doing it because it's a 10 lug. Because the process is the same. We want to get the head in tune with itself at its lowest tuning where there's no wrinkles. That's sort of like its, not its fundamental tone, but that's where you'll sort of just start with, and that's a great place to start, okay? So here we are. Remember the old push down? See all the wrinkles? See how they're all like perfectly, like pie pieces. They're all pointing right toward that center. Okay, remember you don't want to push down too hard. So what I'm going to do before I do anything with the tuning key is I literally now will go around and again, finger tight. Okay? Remember, so there's 2 sets of 5 or 10. 10 logs, 2 sets of 5. So what I'm doing is I'm just going, and you make sure that your claws, when you do this, your claws are totally flush with the wood surface, okay? Okay? So now, so finger tight. You can hear it kind of going crinkle creaky, like, okay? That's what you want, is crinkle creaky. Okay, hang on. Oops, son of a buck. Okay, so these are all finger tight. Okay? So now sometimes on a bass drum, again, it's a little different because sometimes you want wrinkles on your bass drum, especially with these modern heads, which come out which are like the head to use. You know what I mean? Pretty much all bass drum heads have this Ritchie ring in it. They're thicker, especially with the deep bass drums. So what you'll do is this might be sufficient. It might be. Okay, you're gonna have to use it for your sound. If you set your pedal on this, you hook it up and start playing it, it gives you a nice, okay, which even my fingers has kind of that built-in sort of clicky, baggy sound. Okay, but that sounds terrific through a PA for a live gig. Might sound good for what you're doing in a recording. Oftentimes for a deader sound in a recording, they just put a big blanket, not too much in there, maybe with like a rock or something heavy on the bottom. So the blanket sort of sits scrunched up on the bottom, put like a cinder block in there, so maybe even cut a hole in the front head, whatever you want to do. For the bottom sound, you won't want to do that, okay? Or at least most of the bottom sound. Unless you're maybe talking about in through the outdoor. People said there might have been a port in the bass drum head. But anyway, so what I'll do is just then for tuning's sake, just to make we'll just make the wrinkles go away is what I'm saying now, okay? So imagine this is a snare drum or a bass drum, or just a 10 lug drum. Don't think of it as a bass drum, just as the tuning. So what we do here, remember how I said before there was a triangle, and then an upside down, and then a square, and then another square. Because remember, triangle is, excuse me, 3 sides, but you double that, that's 6, and a square is 4, but you double it, it's 8. Doesn't matter, follow the process I said, 10 lug. Now what happens here at each end, with 10, you don't have anything like with 6, that on the cross, there's no lug that lines perfectly up, okay? What happens is on 10 lugs, like on 8 lugs, you have 4, so there's always one right across from each other, like literally on both axes, okay? Or any axes, or at both axes of the square. But anyway, so what happens here is we're finger tight. I'm going to pick one of these guys, okay? Right now I'm taking one closest to the camera. Okay, so I'm going to get one. I'm going to push down. Now, don't confuse. What will happen is there's wrinkles on the Ritchie ring on these modern heads. There's wrinkles in there. Okay, for me, that's as long as they're not too wrinkly, they do the muffling job, as long as you're not getting any bagginess. Remember, this is a factory head that came on it, although they're not that bad. So what I'll just tighten a little. the wrinkle here is gone. It kind of was gone anyway. I'm pushing down here. The wrinkle, there's not really a wrinkle here, but remember, we just skipped one. You go around, and I'm going to skip one again. Remember, getting rid of these wrinkles. Remember, the wrinkles under here don't count, okay? Now I'm skipping one. I'm going over here. Okay? And remember, like I said before, the key is do not over tighten. Don't get, you just want those wrinkles to just disappear, okay? So now we've done, starting here, every other one. That's 5, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now there's another set of 5. So what we do is we pick one next to it, well here, pick one next to it, and now then we're going to skip every other one to do the other 5. So these are the ones that, since we already turned them, are probably holding down really now the tension, okay? So you just want to have the other one sort of join, make sure there's no wrinkles, but join, if you make it join the tension, it'll really take care of any wrinkle problem you would have ultimately, okay? You can double check. Okay, that wrinkle that was there is now gone, okay? Now, remember again, like I said, the O-rings will often be their own man and have their own wrinkles, so don't get confused. So here we go. Okay, so I'm making sure, and I'm pushing down. Remember, since it's a bass drum head, some wrinkles for most gals are acceptable. But in this case, you can see wrinkles here, right? See that? So I'm going to go there, pushing down, getting rid of those wrinkles. Okay, they're not there anymore. See them not there? So I can turn in that light so you can see. Here's a little bit of wrinkle there. It's gone. It just smoothed out. Oops, sorry, camera. Okay, a little bit. There's the wrinkling under here, but there's a teeny bit here. Teeny bit. Okay, I'm going to turn it one, fold one again. That's good. Turn it, just double checking every other one. Little bit of wrinkles there, okay? You see that? Kind of here. Push down, turn it, just see that's about maybe just less than a half turn, that's gone. So then the last one, no wrinkles. Hello, and here are the drums I was tuning. Literally right, I have not touched these, I'm just going to smack them. Here's the floor tom, remember, just tuned. You just saw me tune these as is. Okay? Or none. All sounds pretty good to me, okay? That's it. Here's my snare, which has nothing to do with what I tuned. And then...
This video brought to you by Terry Keating Greatest Hits. Look for it on eBay.